Good evening, everyone. We have everyone here now, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'll introduce everybody that's here today from staff and council and committee. On my far left is Mayor Sandra Easton. To her right is Councillor Wayne McMillan. To Councillor McMillan's right is our Director of Community Services, Maria Brigantino. I'm Diane Rinchima, Chair of the Sports, Recreation and Culture Committee in Councillor Ward 1, Lincoln. And to my right is Legislative Coordinator Julie Kokolis. To her right is Councillor Rob Foster. To his right is Councillor Lynn Timmers. And beside Councillor Timmers is our CAO, Mike Kirkopoulos. And in the back row and with the staff, we have Senior Communications Advisor Carrie Beattie. And on her left is the Manager of Community Development and Museums and Culture, Sarah Ain. Are there any declarations of interest from committee? Seeing none. Are there any changes to the agenda that anybody's proposing tonight? Seeing none. Next on the agenda is delegations. So tonight the Lincoln Leapers will be providing a demonstration followed by an overview about their organization. So we have Janine and Taylor. I think Janine wants to come up first and say something, and then Taylor, who's going to be doing a presentation for us, is going to come up and say something as well, and then give us a lively demonstration. I told her that she stole my thunder. I was going to do a skipping demonstration tonight, and then I came in and saw her. I'm like, oh, thanks.
You can do it instead if you'd like.
What? I can join you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll think about it. You start.
Great. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for letting us join you here this evening. We're hoping to give you a very quick introduction of the Lincoln Leapers, who we are, some of our history, and some of the accomplishments that we've had. I've Taylor to my right here. She is one of our most senior skippers on the team, and I've asked her to join us tonight, not only to demonstrate what the Lincoln Leapers do, but also to talk for a couple minutes about what it means to be a member of the team and some of the opportunities it's awarded her. Because I always think it's interesting to hear a parent talk, but you'll get firsthand experience from Taylor herself about what it means.
Super.
Okay.
Great.
So the Lincoln Leapers is a non-for-profit or not-profit competitive jump rope team. We have been in existence since 1982, and we are very grateful not only for this opportunity to speak with you, but very thankful to the town of Lincoln itself for all of its support over the years. We've been proudly representing Lincoln, not only provincially and nationally, but internationally as well. And many of our team members have traveled extensively, had tons of global experiences in places like Portugal, France, Germany, England, Austria, South Africa, and the list goes on. So we've been very proud to wear the Lincoln Leaper name as we do that, as we represent our community as well. So Lincoln Leapers started back in 1982, so we're 35 years that the club's been running this year. And it all started with Tom Bailey, who just up at Camden, Ontario, was a gym teacher, and he knew the benefits of jump rope, which are very extensive. They very much promote a healthy lifestyle. Jump rope itself has been proven to help overcome, heart disease, obesity, diabetes, osteoporosis, and so on. So jump rope's a fantastic sport. It's a head-to-toe workout, as you'll see when Taylor does her demonstration for us. Develops long, lean muscles. And so Tom knew this and introduced jump rope as part of his curriculum in his gym class. From there, some of the students become very interested and said, well, there must be more that we could be doing rather than just jumping rope. So Tom did some research, found out there was such a thing as competitive jump rope. He found a team in Seattle, packed everyone in their van, and away he went and drove them to Seattle, where they learned what it meant to really compete in jump rope. They learned a ton of tricks, came back, and of course then started a club. From there, other students in Camden became interested, other schools became interested, and believe it or not, that was the foundation not only for the Lincoln Leapers, but for competitive jump rope within Canada itself. So it never existed before, and that's what started jump rope competitions within Canada. Today, our team is one of the largest jump rope teams, and we have very highly decorated individuals who hold not only provincial and national titles, but world titles and world records as well, and Taylor is one of them. So the team itself today currently has 26 athletes on the team, ranging from 10 to 18. But there's been obviously thousands over the years that have come through the Lincoln Leapers. Many accomplished people have gone on to do Cirque du Soleil performers. We have a couple of coaches today who actually taught actors for Disney's movie Jump In, how to jump rope, and that's the premise of the actual movie itself. And Tanya Verbeek actually started as a Lincoln Leaper in her youth, and still today accredits a lot of her discipline and her fitness and endurance levels to being part of a jump rope team. I did hand out earlier, which I think you'll receive, is a little pamphlet that talks about who the Lincoln Leapers are. So not only are we the Lincoln Leaper competitive jump rope team, but we also believe very much in promoting the sport and investing back in our community. And as such, we've developed 3 programs that have extended from there. So we have our Little Leapers, which is targeted at children aged 4 and up, who want to come out in a very fun, relaxed, non-competitive, healthy environment and learn how to jump rope. That team itself is headed up by our own competitive team, so they coach them every Wednesday night. There's 2 one-hour sessions just up the road at Senator Gibson Public School. The kids have a lot of fun. There's been thousands of children over the 20 years that the Little Leapers program has existed come through the program. And right now we have 80 children enrolled with a waiting list every year when it comes time for registration. The second program is actually a relatively new program called the Recreation Team. So we just put this in place 3 years ago. And it's for those skippers or athletes who are somewhere in between littles. They're a little bit older in age, but not sure if they want to compete yet. So the Recreation Team program allows these athletes to come in. They learn how to develop routines. They learn how to do more complex tricks, some of which, again, Taylor will show you. And they get to actually go to a regional competition and see what competing is like. This gives them some of that firsthand experience that then they can decide whether or not to make the commitment into the competitive team. It is a big commitment. The competitive team practices a minimum of 6 hours a week. And it's 3 nights a week, 2 hours each. So it is a big commitment for families, and traveling to the competitions is a lot. So it's good to have a recreation team to give them exposure. The final element is our performance team. Taylor actually is one of the key coaches on our performance team who travels to festivals, parades, corporate functions, and does demonstrations and does engaging community performances as they showcase their talents. We have participated, hopefully several of you saw them down at the Harvest Homecoming this fall, but they've also done the Raptors halftime show, Canada AM, Contessa Awards, Breakfast Television, and so forth. So beyond that, we are also the proud ambassadors of Heart and Stroke. So every year, our team dedicates 6 weeks, 1 day a week for 6 weeks, to travel across the Niagara region and kick off their Jump Rope for Heart campaign. And so we have students who take the day off once a week, and they travel to these schools, kick it off, show children how fun it could be, but it's important to be active and what jump rope can bring in terms of their lifestyle. And so we do that every year as well, and it's done in the spring calendar. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Taylor so she can give you some firsthand experience comments.
Yeah, so a lot of what Janine was saying, the firsthand, when my friends all look at me and they go, wow, you get a lot from this. They think of, you get to travel the world, you're super fit, you get to meet friends from all over the world, all that kind of stuff. But for me, jump rope has instilled within me so much more than that, and things that are much more important to my life now. So when I was younger, I had anxiety very bad. And every time I go to a competition, I would overthink everything. My dad would be like, Taylor, what are you doing? You can do this. Why are you freaking out so much? And it was the same with many aspects of my life. But jump rope taught me how to take a step back and give myself the self-confidence and self-esteem that I needed to get through that anxiety, not only with jump rope, but for every aspect of my life from then on. So because of jump rope, I've become a much more mature person. I have been able to overcome challenges and battles that I wouldn't have been able to without it. Not just anxiety, but things such as if I get frustrated with homework, or if I'm struggling with communicating with friends, if I don't know what to do or when, I go to the gym and I practice and I pick up my rope and everything's okay, and I can get over things that I wouldn't have been able to without it. So not only is it that physical aspect, but it's that mental aspect. And as well as that, it's given me characteristics such as responsibility and collaboration, as I mentioned before, and learning how to not only deal with problems, but deal with how to be a more mature individual in terms of teaching others and understanding that helping others is beneficial, not just, and that's why I coach the the Little Leapers team and the performance team as well as the competitive team, because I believe that by coaching others, you yourself become a better person, because you learn how to gain patience and how to realize things that you wouldn't if you weren't looking at somebody else. So jump rope has been a big part of my life, not only since I was young, but I know that it will be for a very long time, which is why I think it's so important to do the performances and to spread the awareness that it is a sport and more people need to do it, because it's so much more than what many people think it is. And it goes much deeper than being able to travel and compete and meet friends from all over the world. And that's why actually the two world jump rope competitions, so there's FISAC and there's World Jump Rope. And what's preventing us from moving forwards into things such as the Olympics right now is that there's two sets of world rules that aren't combining. But they have the plan in 2020 to bring these two competitions together so that we'll have a united set of rules, and with that, hopefully be able to go to the Olympics. So that's super exciting, and it's super exciting to say that we started that in Canada with the Lincoln Leapers. And I'm very happy that I've been able to contribute to my team, and that I hope to contribute to my team in the future as I plan to jump in university in either Ottawa or Montreal. So I'm very excited to see what comes from it, and I hope that it gains more popularity, because I think it's an incredible thing to be a part of. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
So yeah, we've had the Lincoln Leapers come forward and present to us a few times over the years, and so we're aware of them here at Council for sure. But every time you speak, I think, wow, everybody should know about this. And I know there's people that don't know about it, but it's incredible that you're going all over the world. So one question: how old are you?
I'm 18.
You're 18. Okay.
Yes.
And what you said about what the physical exercise brings to you mentally, it really drove it home for me, because that's a real large and incredible benefit of physical activity, is the mental stimulation too. So thank you. I know I have Councillor Foster who wants to say something.
Actually, thank you. First of all, and thank you for coming in this evening. Tell us the one thing that you have found is the greatest thing since you've been involved with the Lincoln Leapers. What thing are you going to remember the rest of your life out of this?
The thing that I'm going to remember the rest of my life is the effect that it's had on my outlook on the community. So I realized that Lincoln and the surrounding areas are wonderful, they're fantastic, but traveling the world has made me realize that kids and youth need to understand that there's so much more that's out there, and that when you travel the world, you get to acknowledge the fact that inevitably where we live is there's not very many minorities within Lincoln and the surrounding areas, and a lot of my friends don't understand that we need to realize that there's things that are happening in the world around us that we don't read newspapers. Kids are always on their cell phones. They're not watching the news. They're not reading the newspapers, so they don't know what's happening outside of our little bubble. So I've got to understand, not only have I met friends that I value the time I get with them when I see them the one time a year, but also I get to expand my outlook on the world and my perspective about everything around me. And I get to realize that I think we need to bring out some of the things from the surrounding world into our own community to better ourselves. And that's what we can't understand from going on Twitter or Facebook. So.
That's great, and I totally agree with you. I was very fortunate as a child. I had an opportunity to travel without my parents, thank goodness, to Europe on 3 occasions, and starting at 11 years old. And I'll tell you, what a differing view of the world it gives you, and so I admire your comments. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Mayor Easton, next.
Thank you so much for coming. The first year that I was on council, the Lincoln Leapers came to get $550 or something like that, because the van was getting old, and you wanted to go on a to a competition. So I've always had this perspective about your value to the community. And I know that there are young men that belong, but it is in small numbers. And the value that you have in relation to the development of young women in this community and wherever they come from. So it's really a pleasure to see the level of confidence that you have and the depth of your own evaluation in regard to what this has done for your life. And I'm curious to know whether there are young people that belong to the Lincoln Leapers that have dilemmas, that have difficulty in their lives. I mean, are there people that come in a very bad state and are able to work themselves through that because of the support of the group and because of the role modeling? Is there any of that at all?
I would say that being in the coaching standpoint, I've seen that more than some of the other teammates have, because I've been able to realize the growth of many kids. Some kids come in and they're like, I'm a superstar, I'm super great, I'm going to kill it at competition, and they do. But then there's the kids that come in and they're not starting at first place, and they do have struggles, whether it be mentally or they might not seem to be as physically fit, and they're struggling to fit in with the team. But all of them make that growth and that step forward. And I think that it's almost more so than any other sport, because you have to get over the fact that there's the stereotype of jump rope isn't a sport. So it enforces that confidence and growth within you even more so, because you have to gain appreciation for yourself more than what you would with hockey or soccer or those other sports that automatically are considered to be important. Because you have to convince yourself and learn that what you're doing is equally as relevant and that it has equal or better benefits than anything else would as well. So yeah, there has been kids that come in and struggle with that at first, but eventually they do make those steps forward. And being a coach, that to me is almost more rewarding than some of the benefits that I get out of it, because I get to see that growth and I get to help these kids move forward. So
I think
Well, I mean, as far as, it's the singular sport that I can think of that I've been exposed to in this community where young women can absolutely soar in terms of confidence and their ability to mentor and to provide support. It's remarkable, and it's never, ever been any different. I think you really stand out as a group. I'm very, very proud. I think we all are very, very proud of what you've accomplished. And I can see that you have to have pigtails to be on the Lincoln Leapers.
yeah, but actually there's actually, when you go to the States and Australia, there's almost more guys on some teams.
Oh, is there?
Canada is struggling with that, as I mentioned, because of the stereotype of the fact that it's not a sport, and also the guys don't think that there's a place for them there. But in our Little Leaper program this year, we've had more little boys than we have any other year.
Great.
And I would love for more to join, because it's not a girl sport. It's like how there's constantly been that stigma with dancing or with figure skating or cheerleading. And when you go to the States, or when you see Australia or any of the Asian countries, there's boys that are 1,000 times better than the girls are, because and everybody looks up to them, and it's the complete opposite dynamic. Jump rope is considered for the boys. So I think that joining the two world championships together will help break that, and I'm hoping if we gain more awareness to the sport of jump rope in this community and within Canada, that it will expand towards the males as well, because it does empower females completely. But I think that it also needs to start doing the same for the guys, because I think it could bring the equal benefits that it can for the girls.
That's great. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam
Councillor
Chair.
McMillan.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I
Go
was
ahead.
just going to say, Taylor would also like to do a demonstration at
Oh,
the end.
yes.
Is that still?
Oh,
that's an
absolutely.
opportunity? Okay. I just
We're
want-
waiting. We want that. But I think there's a couple more people that would like to say something too, because we really want to get involved in this. So Councillor McMillan would like to say something, and then our CAO, Mr. Kropoulos, and then we're looking forward to your presentation.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair, and thanks for being here. I go way back in education, and I knew Tom, I knew him very well. And I remember the time when he did start the Lincoln Leapers in Camden School. And Camden did not have a gymnasium. It was outside on the tarmac, and the kids were jumping rope. And there were boys in the group as well. I can also recall that the Lincoln Leapers did go around to the schools, and I remember them coming into one of the schools where I was, and put on a demonstration. And it was the first time that boys in my school had seen boys pick up a skipping rope. And you should have seen the reaction. It was, what's going on here? Like, I can't believe this. But then they picked them up as well, and the sport just grew. Tom would be so proud of what's happened now. And there are so many offshoots from the sport as you've identified, and it's just tremendous. And I'm really anxious to see what you do in your sport. So thanks for being here. It's a great program, and thanks for being here and letting us see what you can do in this sport. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Timmers.
Thank you, Chair Regina. I think everything's pretty much been said, but I just wanted to thank you for coming out tonight and for speaking to us. And you certainly, I can see that you are a very good coach, and you've learned a lot of great skills and mentoring younger girls, and it's very apparent, you know, that you're a fine leader. And I think you're going to go really far. And yes, Tom Bailey up in Camden. I'm from Camden. So not originally, but I've been up there a long time. And he would be very proud to see how far this organization has gone. And as a mother of 3 sons who never wanted to skip, and I always thought it was a really great sport. So it would be really nice to see that finally, you know, break that barrier and have just as many boys signing up to do it as well, because it is a great sport in so many ways. And I don't really have a question for you, but I'm just really happy it came out, and I'm looking forward to see your demonstration.
You should tell your boys to join jumping.
Well, you know, I say boys, but they are actually now men.
Oh,
I keep
still.
forgetting that part.
There's actually adult teams, there is.
I have a little grandson and a little granddaughter coming up, so one day I hope that they would. I think it would be great for them.
Yeah,
so.
and it's not even just, it's everything. It helps with schools, with like my
Absolutely.
grades. I don't think I'd have the grades that I do if I didn't jump, to be completely honest. And all my work ethic for everything that I do, I think, came from skipping.
That's great.
So,
It's really good. Anyway, thank you very much.
thank you.
Mr. Kirkopoulos.
So Taylor, I'm on behalf of the staff, I think we're all looking at you and we're like mesmerized by how incredibly articulate you are. So I want to thank you for being here. We haven't even seen you jump rope yet. And,
I could be very bad.
but you are, I think, one of the most articulate and inspirational individuals that I've had the chance to listen to.
Thank you.
So I commend you for that. And I think we're all looking at when you're done doing whatever you're going to do, and I think you're going to do wonderful things. We're definitely going to hire you because I think you're going to be a great leader one day. So
Thank you.
thanks, and I think can't wait to see you jump.
Okay.
All right, so go. Yeah, go ahead. Let's. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I'm ready. I'll be up there in a sec.
So we do a bunch of events and competition, but I can't do all of them right now because I'm by myself. So you would do double dutch and all of those other things, but I'm just going to start with single rope. So I'm going to start with multiples, and the rope's going under my feet 4 times in the jump right now, and I'm going to do a combo. So okay, I don't know if you can see me, but now I'm going to jump on my bum. Okay, there's also power, which is like donkey kicks and push-ups and all that. We do gymnastics. Can't do many flips. I'll do a suicide flip. I'm not landing on my bum. It looks like I am. And then there's other intricate So that would be,
Oh, that was an intricate, okay.
that's the basis of single row. Okay, so then we would have speed. So this is wire. Hurts really bad when it hits you. But you go as fast as you can. You do 30 seconds, 3 minutes, and then there's relays with your team. So that's that. And then if you're getting a high score, that'll be 90 on 1 foot and 30, so 180 rotations in 30 seconds. This is something called triple unders. So you get as many as you can until you stop and make a mistake. So I'm not going to do that, but the rope's going under 3 times in one jump right now. And you would go until you got like 200, and you're getting a good score. And you just keep jumping until you eventually make a mistake.
Wow.
And that's those 3 things. I guess there's also double unders, which you go as fast as you can for. It's like what I was just doing, but it's 30 seconds instead of as many as you can get. So. So that's that. And that's about as much as I can do. Does anybody want to try? I mean, like, routines are typically 2 minutes long, but we have to cover like an entire gym, so I can't really do my routine because it would be like this entire area up here. So it's a lot of moving and.
So you had triple unders and double unders. So you seem to be going, when you were doing the triple unders, it was like you were going to do more and you could do more. And
Yeah.
so you think double unders are easier. Are they or not?
Yeah.
They are easier, okay.
That's 1, 2.
Yeah.
1, 2. Triples are 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
And then.
You made it look easy.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And then the only time you do like quads and quints is when you have your single rope and they're with like tricks. Yeah.
Incredible. Oh, so Councillor McMillan has a question for you.
I'm just curious, when you go into competition, how are you judged? How is anybody going to know that you did?
My dad knows that. I honestly, okay, so speed, do you want me to show you? I can show you. Okay, so if I was doing speed, they count, because it's too fast to count both feet. So they would go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's like every right foot.
Oh, yeah.
And they have clickers. It's like they're just looking at your feet and clicking every time they see it go down. Triple unders, the same thing, clickers. Freestyle, your routine has to go to the music. So you have to hit musical accents, land on the music, all stuff like that. It's also difficulty. So something like, I'm not sure if you're going to see the difference. These are triple unders. 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's triple. Quads are. So they're like 4. So that would be a higher point than a triple under would be. So it's like they have to learn it at judges' clinics. Something we struggle with in Canada. A lot of our judges don't judge properly.
So it's the parents who actually judge. So
Yeah.
we have to go and do training, and then we actually judge. And it's similar to what you would see at figure skating. So there's a series of about 12 of us at a table. So anytime Taylor's doing her freestyle, one's dedicated to difficulty, one to a certain creativity, a third creativity. We have some technical people in the background that walk around and make sure technically things are okay, and they assess them according to the criteria they're given. But Taylor's right, because it's parent-driven and parent-based, there is some variability, for sure.
You put up a card that says 6.
We write it down. We actually have a fairly detailed sheet we fill in at the end of it, saying were they on time to music, did they do
But it's
triples,
evolved a
doubles.
lot. At competitions, like my coaches were telling me, it used to just kind of be, if you feel like doing this event right now, go to this section of the gym, and feel like doing speed, go over here. Like, it wasn't a schedule, so it's getting better. That's another thing we need to work on, is getting proper judging. And again, as I was talking about merging the judging, every has to be the same before it becomes an Olympic opportunity or something like that. So.
Thank you very much for coming. Please keep us apprised. What's the word I'm looking for? Of anything that's coming up in the future. Let us know. And that's so exciting that you're thinking about going toward the Olympics eventually. Can you imagine that? I can't imagine. Putting Lincoln on the map, big time. So thank you very much to
Thank
both of
you
you for
for
coming out.
having
And
us.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ooh. Now I'm wrecking the place. So.
Ah, you did. Careful with that metal rope on the way out, though.
We actually have to keep these in our carry-ons instead of our suitcases when we go to competitions.
Oh,
Considered weapons.
Yeah.
yeah. I can imagine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, on to stuff not quite as exciting, I guess. Next on the agenda is CM 1803, a report providing information on non-resident surcharge for summer programming. So, oh, I'm sorry, I checked off the wrong thing. So the next on the agenda is CM 1802. Correspondence. Yeah, so we don't have any correspondence, do we? I'm really leaping ahead. So no correspondence, so on to reports. First report, CM 1802, a report providing information on the 2017 artifact donations for the Town of Lincoln Museum and Cultural Center. Are there any questions from committee members regarding this report? Do we have a presentation? Everybody's read the report? If there's no questions from committee members, I have a motion moved by Councillor McMillan and second by Councillor Timmers. That the 2017 artifact donations for the Town of Lincoln Museum and Cultural Center, report CM 1802, be received as information, and that the 16 artifacts be accepted into the permanent collection and added to the master registry, and that their appraisal value be provided to the town's insurers for their information. Comments or questions to the motion? All in favor? Okay, so that's carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda, CM 1803, a report providing information on non-resident surcharge for summer programming on page 18. Are there comments or questions? Councillor Foster?
Yes, thank you very much. So, having read this and taken a look, I didn't completely understand the rationale of why the fees are being removed, and I, you know, it's one of these ones where I look at it and I sort of say, why? On a personal level, I believe that it's always wise for us to make sure that we are providing, you know, as much opportunity for youth to gain access to programs and stuff like that, and I kind of understand those types of things. However, it seems to me with what's being recommended here, you know, these are people that are not residents of the town of Lincoln. And the library, for instance, if you're going to have a library card from outside the town of Lincoln, you also are charged a fee above and beyond to have that right to go and do that. And so I'm a little bit surprised that this is being done, and I, particularly in the fact that, and this isn't as important to me as others, but you know, some people might look and say, okay, you're throwing away $4,500, so just explain that. So anyway, so I guess through to Maria, I'm with my questions on that.
So yes, so thank you, Councillor Foster, for the question, and you'd like to answer that? Thank you.
Through you, Chair. So we have received feedback that there are some limitations with families that want to sign up multiple children with fees or sign up for multiple camps, and that was why we did look at our user fees, why we looked at what other municipalities are doing. We do have room in our programs, so there is an opportunity for both residents of Lincoln as well as non-residents of Lincoln to sign up. We are suggesting a 2-week wait period to allow Lincoln residents to have that kind of first opportunity to sign up. But what we actually expect is that this will give more opportunity for families to register their full families, and that will actually increase our enrollment and users of the programs. So while I recognize we're reducing the fee, our goal is to make sport and recreation more accessible and to increase our overall registration, but still to give priority to Lincoln residents.
So I'll follow that up then. I mean, and this isn't meant to be sort of sarcastic or whatever, but why are we as the town of Lincoln with hard-earned taxes going and providing services to people from outside our municipality? I mean, it's a philosophical discussion, I know, but the simple reality is that fees to go and do this type of thing really truly isn't unreasonable. So, my opinion anyway. So I don't support what it is that's being recommended here.
Through you, Chair,
Yep.
if that's okay. We're trying to service, we are trying to give first priority to Lincoln residents, but really service Niagara. There are limitations in the programs and services that are offered in each municipality based on the facilities and assets that they have. And so we really want to go back to the philosophy of supporting people to live healthy, active lives. So they can't always do that in the community that they live. We want to give Lincoln residents that first priority, but we also want to support families and residents across Niagara to have accessible opportunities to create healthy lifestyles, give them a safe place to play and to participate.
Well, thank you. Councillor McMillan?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. In the report, you mentioned that you're expecting an influx in registrations, but at the same time saying that we don't need any additional staff. How do you justify no additional staff if you're expecting an influx of registrations?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the Manager of Community Development, Sarah Ain.
Through the chair to Councillor McMillan, our staff are hired on a seasonal basis, our aquatic staff. They have the capacity to take on additional teaching responsibilities at this time. If they're not actively teaching, they're lifeguarding the pool or performing pool maintenance. But there is some downtime that we'd like to fill through additional program registrations. So if you were to decide to remove the non-resident surcharge fee, we anticipate that not only would we see an influx in registration from Lincoln residents, but as well as our non-residents as well.
If I might, Madam Chair.
Absolutely.
in the registrations, will Lincoln residents be given preference? So the registration takes place, and if there are any spaces left over, then they will be offered to non-residents, but Lincoln gets preference? Is that the way you're setting it up?
Through the chair, yes, that's absolutely right. We're committed, staff are committed to servicing Lincoln residents first and foremost. The proposal is that there would be a 2-week wait period where Lincoln residents would have the opportunity to receive preferred registration, if you will. They can get in and register first to get the class of their choice and have that opportunity before general registration would open for non-residents.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Chambers?
Thank you, Chair Rajiba. I personally don't have a problem with this at all. When you look at all the municipalities, you go down the list that are not charging this surcharge, and there's a lot of them. Like, we are in the minority that we are charging this surcharge. And I'm all for taking down those barriers for families that want to involve their children and can't because of this charge. It becomes too much, especially if you do have a lot of children. And so I don't have a problem with this at all, because the Lincoln families have priority. They can sign up, and if there's any spaces left over, then we open it up to out-of-towners. I was an out-of-towner when I would take my children to West Park for swimming lessons. I took them faithfully every year, and I would pay, extra fee. But that was a lot of years ago, because now I see St. Catharines does not charge a surcharge fee. So I'm totally fine with this. I don't have an issue. I support it. Thank you. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Mayor Easton?
It took me a little, Madam Chair, it took me a little while to figure out how I wanted to land on this, because I was in the same camp as Councillor Foster. But I'm not very happy with the fact that we have such a large capacity at the pools. And I realize that in Jordan, the location has a bearing on it. I suppose maybe the condition of it has a bearing, but really, even in town, to only have 76% occupancy, it should be 100%. So I would like to, I certainly think that we should be working toward that. And the summer adventure camp, we were walking a lot last summer, and I could see that it was just packed out. I suspect that this year there will be a waiting list, and maybe it will never be able to be satisfied. So my question at the moment is, if we do have an increased demand, what is our plan for responding to that? This is with the Summer Adventure Program.
So who would like to respond to that? Okay. Sarah? Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, certainly staff are always reviewing registration on an ongoing basis. So to know what our registrations numbers will look like for the summer is unknown at this time. Spring registration starts in a few weeks. If we do have a registration wait list, we do our very best to move people off that wait list and get them into programs, whether that would be Summer Adventure Camp or another comparable program. We do offer a number of different types of camps, so there are opportunities in some of our camps that are not full to move residents over to those. At this point, we have not ever had a wait list issue where we couldn't accommodate a resident, and we don't foresee that being a problem at this point.
All right, so Madam Chair, you're not expecting a 20% increase in demand in the summer adventure camps?
Through you, Madam Chair, we are not.
What would you base that on, through you, Madam Chair?
Through you, Madam Chair, we would base that on previous year's statistics. So we have never exceeded our camp capacity at this point in time. And we do feel that although it's a quality program, we operate within our means. We've never been full before summer camp has started. Registration is ongoing through the summer, and we do have a lot of withdrawals and changes in plans from our residents. So although they may register in a couple of weeks for the summer, registration numbers fluctuate throughout the summer. So it does go up and down on a weekly basis, sometimes on a daily basis.
Okay, that's very helpful. So, Madam Chair, I guess the question that I have is, if there isn't something, and I'm thinking about how the library operates, if it's our determination that we're not going to change the offerings, but I guess, do we know what's being offered in other communities, and do we know if there's capacity? And can we make that information available? Do we have any mechanism for doing that?
I'm uncertain who to direct this question through to. Do we have that information now? Okay, Sarah.
Through you, Chair, can I just have the question repeated so I'm clear on it?
It's a matter of being able to offer programs here, but also what do we know about what is being offered in the rest of Niagara that might be of interest? And is there any kind of practical mechanism for doing that? A, because we don't want to have programs that are only partly full, but at the same time, providing more variety for the young people in Lincoln.
Through you, Chair. Thank you. Staff are involved in a number of working groups as it relates to programming summer aquatics with other municipality representatives to see what the current industry trends are here in Niagara, what people are offering so that we're not duplicating services and we are unique. So it's important to recognize that we know what's going on in Grimsby, St. Catharines, all of our close-knit competitors. We're very well aware of what they offer and how we differ. And so we work with those partners to really identify what are their registration numbers looking like. Are they full? Can we expect an influx? One of the reasons we do see residents from St. Catharines attending the Jordan Pool specifically is because they closed a number of their outdoor pools only a few years ago. So we certainly knew that that was going to impact our operation. And so whenever decisions are made like that in other municipalities, we have to take a step back to look at how can we service those residents that we know will come knocking at our doors.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I know that this is a diversion from the way we've done things, but I'm satisfied that the staff have really done a lot of research on what is out there and how we need to tailor our programs accordingly. And, I think this concept of providing Niagara programs collectively so that kids can get into a lot more things is maybe a good attitude that we need to have. So I'll support this motion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sandra. Councillor Foster.
Yeah, I'm sounding like I'm the Grinch, I think. Just a couple of quick things, though. The municipality of Lincoln is not responsible for the social side of things within, our distinctions of government. So, as much as I actually agree with Sandra on a number of her comments, but, the town of Lincoln is not necessarily a follower. We've been a leader in a variety of areas, so I really don't have an issue from that point of view. Just the last thing is that we already pay a heavy expense on providing to other municipalities already. I mean, Charles Daly is a prime example of being heavy used by St. Catharines residents as opposed to Lincoln necessarily. So, I just don't think this is the right thing. I think status quo with what we've been doing is just fine. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you very much. So unless there's any other comments or questions, I'll read the motion. I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Foster that the Sport, Recreation and Culture Committee and Council approve the removal of non-resident surcharges to summer programming specific to children and youth. Comments or questions to that motion? Yeah, Councillor.
And council?
Yeah, that's different. I'm not sure if that's
Because it would be committee recommending to council.
right. That's the way I usually understand it. That's the recommendation in the report. Okay, thank you. They should initial it. Just get Rob to initial it. Thank you kindly. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Foster that council approve the removal of non-resident surcharges to summer programming specific to children and youth.
That still doesn't sound,
That's not usually what we word our motions.
it's committee recommending to council. It's
That-
not the council is going to do it.
So,
Approving the removal of the surcharge, Councillor. Is there a
Yes.
different way that you want to word it?
I think our motions are usually worded something like that committee, the committee receive the report and approve the recommendation therein, and then that goes to council. I think that's what people are struggling a little bit with.
Or Recreation and Culture Committee recommend to council non-resident surcharges applied to summer programming specific to children and youth be removed. Sport, Recreation and Culture Committee
Yeah.
recommend to council
Yeah.
the non-resident surcharge applied to summer programming specific to children and youth be removed.
At the end of the meeting, everybody has to get up and jump rope for 10 minutes.
Okay, I've made those changes, so.
Okay.
You might just want to.
I will, I'll read it. Thank you. That SRC, Sports, Recreation and Culture Committee, recommend to council that the non-resident, thank you, surcharge to summer programming specific to children and youth be removed.
Yes, I'm fine with that. I think
Okay.
that because the way it's worded here, it comes under the word recommendation as the main motion. But for me, it's clearer with it right in the wording of the motion.
Sure.
Sounds great. Any more comments or questions to that motion? All in favor? Okay, so that motion is carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda, there's nobody here to hear this, but all motions from this evening's meeting will be presented to council for final approval at its meeting on March 19th, 2018. Councillor inquiries. Do we have any councillor inquiries? Councillor Timmers?
Thank you, Chair Regima. Through you to our CAO, if you could provide an update on the Camden Fire Station, where we're at and where we're going and timeline. If possible, please.
Through you, Madam Chair, I did, Councillor Timmers did reach out to me earlier. I did highlight that at our next meeting in April, we would be coming back with a report. And I did also highlight that the rationale for that is not that we're not ready to present to you earlier than that, but we are trying to adhere to the deadlines that our acting clerk and our legislative services department have set out. And so that is really our rationale. I also shared with the councillor at the time that we definitely are on schedule. Things are proceeding. You'll be starting to receive project status reports starting at the April SRC committee. And I shared with her as well that as per our conversation and council's direction to look at the increase in scope in terms of some of those additional items that we were successful in doing that, but that we would be providing a more in-depth update at April's meeting.
Super, thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Is that good, Councillor Timmers?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I have Councillor Foster next.
Thank you. Two quick things. Just a timeline on when we're going to be seeing museum information back to us again. So,
Okay.
through
Through you, Madam Chair, we've been working with within community services as well as our legislative services staff, and we'll be providing an update to our chair of Committee of the Whole, Chair Foster. We anticipate coming back for an in-camera presentation to highlight some elements of the museum project to you on March 21st.
Good, thank you. And just a second thing, and Mike brought it to our attention, but Maria, I understand you're going to be moving along, so congratulations to you on a new position, and we haven't had you here a long time, but you have had a real impact on what's gone on within that department, and we really appreciate what you've done, so thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. So any more council inquiries? If not, Councillor Krikopoulos.
No.
Mr. Krikopoulos.
No, I don't want the job.
Maybe in Hamilton.
No, not there either. Through you, Madam Chair, I think Councillor Foster did beat me to it. I did want to highlight that this will be Maria's last SRC committee meeting this evening. And I think as I shared with senior management team, I shared with you as well, what Maria's been able to do in under a year in terms of moving our community services department should be absolutely commended. She has accomplished more with her team, but really through her leadership in under a year than we probably did in the previous decade. And so the systems, the processes that have been set up will be something that we continue with. And so I think on behalf of senior management team, we are going to have a nice farewell lunch for her, although we've got to figure out how that works in her schedule and find a location that's appropriate. But I did want to highlight it will be Maria's last meeting. We will miss her around the table. And I think like everyone else, we wish her well in this new opportunity.
Thank you. I think it was under 10 months. Was it the end of May? So you did really accomplish a lot in less than 10 months, for sure. So that was next on the agenda. Any notices of motion? None. Any announcements? I guess that was an announcement of sorts. Closed session, no closed session. This meeting is adjourned.